Hey there, it's Madeline, and this is my module 4 discussion board for this week. So just kind of getting started here. What I took away mainly from the kid watching and the MTSS documents and articles, I really liked how it talked a lot about the teacher support with students, not only in learning but also behavior. I think it was interesting to read how those two coincided and how one obviously definitely affects the other, and kind of how these different tiers or levels of help were kind of these like regular check-ins to make sure teachers were meeting the needs of students. And some things that kind of stuck out to me the most was kind of how, once again, the academic help and the behavioral support, but students who struggle with schoolwork were often and more times the ones who were kind of needing that more behavioral support or acting out in a classroom, which I've seen so many times when students are frustrated with their work or not understanding something and are not getting the grasp of what you're teaching. They obviously turn more frustrated, and that kind of shows in their behavior. And kind of the four main ideas I remember one of the articles talking about was the level of support you provide, the research-based teaching, and then that kind of constant assessments within those checkups, and then finally the decisions based on that data. So what are you as a teacher, now that you've collected this data and used the kid watching process, what are you going to now do to fix these things in your classroom? And then what I wrote down, kind of the connections to earlier lessons, I thought it was very similar to like the differentiation of the UDL documents and kind of adjusting for every learner and having teaching styles that accommodates to every learner in your classroom, and not just teaching in a way that maybe you like best or is most comfortable for you, but making sure you have a multitude of different learning styles in your teaching. And then obviously like the progress tracks to decide what about your teaching needs to be changed or what things need to be added. And then this kind of connects in with the social emotional learning of classroom management and how us as teachers can constantly be modifying that for our students. And something I even noticed, like doing the kid watching last week and this week, just how much really watching a kid closely and writing down those behaviors and patterns, you really start to notice the different things. Like, yes, I knew the general behavior of my class or could pick out a few students that needed more help or support. But when I actually took the time to write down the kid's name that I was going to be looking at, and then specifically write down the things I was going to be looking for, and just keeping track on a sheet of paper, it really helped me kind of zone in and see those details of the support that my student needed in each of those tiers, and then how to catch those problems early enough to maybe prevent some of the behavioral things from happening. Like, what is those tier 1 and tier 2 interventions and supports that I could have done as a teacher, kind of as a preventative to help along before it reaches to that frustration behavioral problems point. And then kind of another thing I said with the kid watching was just, it's kind of an observation guide for teachers to kind of make a smart but also personal decision for each student and kind of have that plan laid out. And kind of how it would be used in the classroom with MTSS versus the kid watching. Teachers can kind of use screenings and progress checks to kind of see spots that need to be filled in within kids' knowledge or learning or emotional and social support. Teach in small groups for extra help. In my classroom right now, we do a lot of small groups and stations that are geared toward whatever that small group individually needs, and then kind of use those UDL ideas to make lessons